Our scripture reading this morning is Psalm 91. You who live in the shelter of the Most High, who abide in the shadow of the Almighty, will say to the Lord, my refuge and my fortress, my God in whom I trust. For God will deliver you from the snare of the hunter and from the deadly pestilence. God will cover you with pinions, and under God's wings you will find refuge. God's faithfulness is a shield and defense. You will not fear the terror of the night, or the arrow that flies by day, or the pestilence that stalks in the darkness, or the destruction that wastes at noonday. 1,000 may fall at your side, 10,000 at your right hand, but it will not come near you. You will only look with your eyes and see the punishment of the wicked. Because you have made the Lord your refuge, the Most High your dwelling place, no evil shall befall you, no scourge come near your tent. For God will command angels concerning you to guard you in all your ways. On their hands they will bear you up, so that you will not dash your foot against a stone. You will tread on the lion and the adder, the young lion and the serpent you will trample underfoot. Those who love me I will deliver. I will protect those who know my name. When they call to me, I will answer them. I will be with them in trouble. I will rescue them and honor them. With long life I will satisfy them and show them my salvation.
For he will command his angels concerning you to guard you in all your ways. Part of our faith explores the idea of spiritual beings other than the Trinity and apart from humanity, who exist partly as our protectors, angels, extra protection and comfort. The Bible abounds with stories of angels, and as time has gone on, we have imagined them in various forms, or lack thereof, and having various purposes also. Of course, as with all things religious, no one knows for certain, but I, for one, delight in the possibility of angels, and I perceive them to be real. Webster's dictionary informs us that, quote, angels are believed to be the intermediaries between the divine and human realms. And according to the Bible, angels are spirit beings created by God to serve God's purposes. Hebrews 1:14 says this, are not all angels spirits in the divine service? And in an article that author Don Stewart entitles, What Have Angels Done According to the Old Testament, he enumerates the biblical presence of angels from the very beginning. And he says that when God created the world, it seems it was witnessed by angels. Job 38:7 says, when the morning stars sang together and all the heavenly beings shouted for joy. Those heavenly beings being angels. Angels were present at the giving of the law, the Ten Commandments. Referring to Moses, we read in Acts 7, quote, God now sent as both ruler and liberator through the angel who appeared to him in the bush. He is the one who was in the congregation in the wilderness with the angel who spoke to him at Mount Sinai and with our ancestors. He received living oracles to give us. You are the ones that received the law as ordained by angels. Who is referred to as the angel of the Lord appears frequently in the Old Testament, usually when something really meaningful or dramatic is about to happen. In fact, one of the functions of the angels, a lot of the time, is as messengers, delivering a word. The English word angel comes from the Greek word meaning messenger. And it was an angel who announced to Mary, do not be afraid, Mary, for you have found favor with God. And behold, you will conceive in your womb and bear a son, and you shall call his name Jesus. In an article entitled Angels in the Bible, I love this, Angels in the Bible, what do we actually know about them? That's the title of the article. Author Wayne Grudem, he surmises the fact that angels are not always present beside us. And he says it's made explicit in Daniel 10:12-14, when the angel Michael comes to Daniel and says, I have come because of your words. And then Grudem refers to that saying, well, if angels were omnipresent, Michael wouldn't have to come to help because they already would have been there. Unlike God, who is omnipresent, angels are finite creatures, limited to one place at a time. End quote. Maybe. Who knows? An image of the back and forth of angels between heaven and earth is found in Genesis 28:12. And that tells us of this dream that Jacob had. It says, he had a dream in which he saw a stairway resting on the earth with its top reaching to heaven, and the angels of God were ascending and descending on it. I love the busyness of that image. Multitudes of angels to and froing to help us mere mortals out. And in the New Testament, angels are often seen accompanying Jesus. They're present during his birth, his temptation in the wilderness, his resurrection from the dead, and it is written that they will appear with him again at the final judgment. Now, the only two angels in the Bible that are given names are Gabriel and Michael. In Luke 1:11 and 19, this is what it says. Then there appeared to him an angel of the Lord, standing at the right side of the altar of incense. I am Gabriel. I stand in the presence of God, and I have been sent to speak to you and to bring you this good news. So that's Gabriel introduced, and then Revelations 12:17 says, and war broke out in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon. The dragon and his angels fought back. Which brings us to the issue of fallen angels, also known as demons. So these were angels who rebelled against God and were cast out of heaven for their disobedience. And the first to go was Satan, the prince of evil spirits and adversary of God. In Psalm 78, verse 49, we hear of what's called a band of destroying angels. And then there was the Passover, what they call the angel of death, killing firstborn children. Quite a contrast to the angels we usually think of, those described in Fanny Crosby's lovely hymn, Blessed Assurance. Those lyrics from Blessed Assurance go like this. Angels descending from above, echoes of mercy, whispers of love. So now there were three types in the Bible, three types of angels. And they all have categories and names. They're cherubim, and there are seraphim, and what they call living creatures. So we all know cherubims as those chubby, naked baby angels with wings, although that image wasn't actually found until the Renaissance. Artistically, they're always depicted on floating clouds, while the biblical depiction has them surrounded by fiery light. Cherubim were thought to be the lower order of angels, and so they've been depicted as children. I think with Jesus and his love of children, he would have had a problem with that particular representation. Now, seraphim are only mentioned one time in the Bible. And they appear in Isaiah 6:2-7, where they continually worship the Lord and say, Holy, holy, holy is the Lord of hosts. The whole earth is full of his glory. Seraphim were thought to be the highest order of the celestial hierarchy. Michael and Gabriel were seraphim. And then in Ezekiel and Revelation, It's spoken of other kinds of heavenly beings known as, again, what they call living creatures. That's the only name they get, living creatures around God's throne. And they appear like a lion and an ox, a man and an eagle, various things representing parts of God's creation. And they too worship God continually. Now, the idea of a hierarchy of angels is, to my mind, where we see the imprinting of humankind's thinking, and not its best thinking, on a concept as ethereal as angels. Wikipedia tells us that in the angelology, and yes, that is the word, angelology of different religions, that there's a ranking system. Higher ranks, kills me that we're talking about angels, higher ranks have more power or authority over lower ranks, and different ranks have differences in appearance, such as a varying number of wings or faces. Military much? It's in the Bible's depiction of types and classes of angels that we understand the literary component of biblical wisdom and understand that its authors used imagination to express theological notions. In his article entitled How Angels Found Their Wings, Norman Ricklefs notes this, quote, "Wings appear as a symbol of divine power, either of gods or their representatives on earth. Wings were a way to set angels apart from humanity. Wings simultaneously represent the heavens and a tie to earth, for even birds, winged creatures, must eventually return to earth." End quote. And of course, one of the most enduring images we have today of angels on earth is in the famous Christmas movie, A Wonderful Life. And in that movie, a very young George Bailey, played by Jimmy Stewart, was balancing on the edge of a bridge 2 toes away from a jump when he had his first angelic encounter with Clarence Oddbody, AS2. "Hey, what's an AS2?" wonders Bailey aloud. "Angel second class," quipped Clarence. "I haven't won my wings yet. That's why I'm called an angel second class." And in order to get his wings, Angel Clarence must save a soul. And of course, he ends up getting those wings by saving George Bailey. And then we have that charming announcement that every time a bell rings, an angel gets his wings. And of course, we're all quite teary when those bells ring for Clarence. Unlike the passages in the Bible where the humans were aware that they were seeing angels, there are many times when angels are mistaken as human, just as with George and Clarence at first. Hence the warning that we all get in Hebrews 13, verse 2, when it says, "Do not neglect to show hospitality to strangers, for thereby some have entertained angels unaware." And these are angels temporarily with physical bodies who function as normal human beings, but with supernatural powers. And in every case, when they're in the form of human beings, angels have always appeared as adult males. Surprised me. This last detail, I believe, speaks to the times in which the Bible was written. It's a case of political and social mores of a given time imprinting themselves on the written word. Now, angels as helpers is the vision of angels that I believe most of us hold. One biblical example is in the story of Lot when he's rescued from the destruction of Sodom. I've made a little abbreviated version of that story. So the 2 angels came to Sodom in the evening. This is in Genesis 19. 2 angels came to Sodom in the evening, but before they lay down, the men of the city, the men of Sodom, both young and old, surrounded the house, and they called to Lot, "Where are the men who came to you tonight? Bring them out to us, so that we may know them." And then they pressed hard against Lot and came near the door to break it down. But the men inside reached out their hands and brought Lot into the house with them, and they shut the door. And they struck with blindness the men who were at the door of the house, both great and small, so that they were unable to find the door. When morning dawned, the angels urged Lot, saying, "Get up, take your wife and your 2 daughters who are here, or else you will be consumed in the punishment of the city." But Lot lingered. So the men seized him and his wife and his 2 daughters by the hand, the Lord being merciful to him, and they brought him out and left him outside the city. Saved by angels. And then we have the most favored and comforting of angels, to my mind, guardian angels. Author John Piper says this about those angels, quote, "It is about those who become like children and thus enter the kingdom of heaven. For example, in Matthew 10:42, Jesus says, 'Whoever gives one of these little ones even a cup of cold water because he's a disciple, truly I say to you, he will by no means lose his reward.' The little ones," says the author, "are disciples." And I take the little ones to be us also. It makes sense to me that an infinitely loving God would align holy emissaries with each one of us. Just as we are aligned spiritually with our loved ones in a bond that even death doesn't remove, surely there are celestial beings with whom we're connected. My mom always believed that there was an indigenous girl named Bluebell, and that Bluebell was my mom's guardian angel. And the comfort and the strength that that relationship brought my mother was truly like no other in her life. And here is something to consider. What if, when we have cause to say, "You're an angel," what if it's not just an expression? Hal Green, in his article entitled "There Are Angels Among Us," writes this, quote, "Though technically an angel is a messenger from God, people serve as angels unaware when they happen onto the scene at the right time and do just the right thing." End quote. 17th century French composer François Couperin was clearly thinking along those same lines when he wrote these beautiful words, "To be an angel, one need not have wings. In giving love, there is equal grace." And it's this notion, as well as that of guardian angels, that I find the most valuable and applicable to leading meaningful lives here on earth. I believe that the Holy Spirit works in us and with us as inspiration and strength, and that sometimes what we are inspired to do is actually being an angel to others. I think it's like that we're deputized into doing God's work, temporary angels, as it were. My friend Kent, sitting with me every day for 3 weeks at my grandmother's deathbed, was my angel. Kent gets deputized quite frequently, and for many people. He's like that. And the people who lifted and carried me when my husband Bill died were and are angels in my life. I really believe that our animals are angels as well, emissaries of comfort from God. Years and years ago, when I was going through medical procedures to try to conceive a baby, my beautiful black and white cat, Roy, he had the most exquisite blue-green eyes. He would climb on top of me and knead my belly, looking right into my eyes. And after God's plan was revealed in the adoption of our daughter Mel, Roy waited a few months after Mel moved in and died. I was bereft, but I think it was that his job was done. And after Bill's death, my little dog Teddy was my companion and friend as my rescue terrier Martha is now. There are no words for the comfort I found and find there in those animals. You cannot tell me that these creatures do not have a soul and a soul mission. Angels among us. Eileen Elias Freeman says this, quote, God not only sends special angels into our lives, but sometimes he even sends them back again if we forget to take notes the first time. End quote. And I think this applies to both holy angels and to human ones. Although, to the best of my very limited knowledge, you won't find it in the Bible, my feeling about angels is that there's also room for humor. Surely these beings laugh both at and with us, considering some of the scrapes we get ourselves into. I like to think that there is both a very sincere concern and a certain lightness of perspective in those loving spirit beings. Just as our departed ones are beside us, but on the other side of an ethereal veil and beyond the limit of our mortal vision, surely angels are our companions in accompanying us through life. And I found this poem. It's by an anonymous author, but I think it fits. I felt an angel near today, though one I could not see. I felt an angel, oh, so close, sent to comfort me. I felt an angel's kiss soft upon my cheek, and oh, without a single word of caring did it speak. I felt an angel's loving touch soft upon my heart, and with that touch I felt the pain and hurt within depart. I felt an angel's tepid tears fall softly next to mine, and knew that as those tears did dry, a new day would be mine. I felt an angel's silken wings enfold me with pure love, and felt a strength within me grow, a strength sent from above. I felt an angel, oh, so close, though one I could not see. I felt an angel near today, sent to comfort me. That's the poem. But I'll leave you with this quote from William Shakespeare. And flights of angels sing thee to thy rest, or at least to the rest of your day at rest.